She continued to guide us around the mansion, presenting us several places of interest. We explored the garden, the attic, the servants' quarters, but they lacked evidence of any kind. Not so much as a stray hair out of place. It was all too perfect. I don't see anything that would show they came from the outside.
Ugh!
Watson tripped over a table. A vase set on top of it tipped violently downwards.
Oh no!
I was able to catch it just before it hit the ground. My heart was seized first with the rush of the unexpected, then seized again with the purge of a rush having come to pass. God, it would have been awful had it broken.
Are you hurt?
No, I'm all right. I'm so sorry, madam. You go to all this trouble and I almost break your vase.
Please, don't concern yourself.
Madam Janet went to Watson's side in concern, but in my alertness did I suspect something wasn't right. Are you all right, madam? You've looked rather short of breath since our arrival. I was correct. Madam!
Oh!
She collapsed. It was Watson who went to her than the other way around, and as he did, he very carefully raised her, arm supporting her whole back. He took to examining her as a doctor would.
What's happened, madam?
Lot's voice trembled from the sight. He had extended his arms as she fell like Watson, but was just shy of meeting her.
Her breathing is shallow and heartbeat is rapid, but it's her color that concerns me. It looks far too poor for this to be a simple respiratory disorder. We must take her to her room at once. Lead the way.
The butler waited for Watson to cradle the madam in his arms before showing him to her bedroom for rest. I followed.
I'm so terribly sorry for all this.
There's no need for that. If I may ask, have you been feeling unwell the entire time you've been with us? What of her visit to Baker Street? This incident brought to mind how off-color Madame Janet was when we were first introduced. She never once appeared well, but could I have mistaken this for age and nerves?
I suppose I'm paying the price for taking more rest. Ever since my husband died, headaches, stomach pains, and nausea have become regrettably common.
This all started after his death?
You'll have to pardon how I forced you to carry me, Mr. Holmes. I never meant to disrupt your investigation.
It was my pleasure. I feel terrible for having made you guide us when you were in such a state.
Lot blamed himself. I could see it in how he clenched his fists, not out of rage, but to contain a guilt that festered beneath the flesh.
I could never fault you when I said nothing. To guide you was the least I could do. If only I could do more. It was the same when Ash collapsed. And when I was pushed down those stairs, Sophia had to save me. All I could do was panic. And how terrible that I hadn't finished showing you the mansion. So long as you find them agreeable, Lot, Sophia, and Ash shall finish in my stead. I trust them with my life. They will, without doubt, provide you with all the assistance you might need.
Abrupt music change. We retired from the bedroom in order for the madam to rest.
The places we had left were the kitchen and her husband's study, I think.
Would it be possible to see inside the stable as well, Lot?
Certainly. I hadn't taken you as one to be so interested in exotic animals, Miss Watson.
It's true that I'm curious about them, but I'm most curious about the swamp adder. Well then, where shall we investigate first? If it's no trouble, I want to visit a few places. Let's go backwards this time. Could you show us inside the stable, then? Lot was the one to oblige and guide us.
I trust you do well with animals, Miss Watson. Absolutely,
I do! Holmes and I love them. You have no reason to worry. But I do. Think before you speak, Watson.
Sorry, slip of the tongue.
We arrived and Lot led us inside. Bother. I was prepared for snakes, but never a tiger. It would have been wise to ask what was in here before coming.
This is incredible! I never thought I'd live to see a Bengal tiger in person. Really, thank you so much for letting us come in here. When I was a boy, I'd always dreamed of being able to ride on the back of one of these.
I'm relieved you gave up on that dream before you were eaten. This trip proved particularly darling to Watson, whose own smile expanded hopelessly upon every new creature for whom he could shower with affection.
I'm pleased that you are enjoying the tour.
If I may, Lot, I have something I should like to ask.
What might that be?
Why are you lying to Madame Janet? You said the injury to your arm was minor at best.
It isn't?
Whatever do you mean?
Lot's naturally rigid features seemed to grow more strained.
When you were handling the animals earlier, I noticed how actively you worked to avoid your left arm touching anything. Earlier, you extended your arm to catch the madam when she fell. But you didn't extend it all the way, so you weren't able to catch her. It's natural for one to stop moving when they feel pain. I assume you wanted to be the one to carry her to her room as well, but you had me do it. Not because you didn't want to, but because you weren't able to.
Oh my, he's acting the part of Holmes rather well.
I simply do not wish to add to her burdens.
He lowered his tone to nearly a whisper.
I admit to you my injury is more than a scrape, but I must reiterate that I wasn't bitten. This will heal before long.
Lot, am I correct that it was Madame Janet who was attacked? When she mentioned the attack in the garden, she spoke as though she blamed herself for the incident.
She has no reason to blame herself for anything. All she's done is care for the creature her husband held dear. It, however, became aggressive in nature after its fangs were stolen. It made to attack her any time she approached, and I feel it is well within my duties to defend her.
Who would steal a snake's fangs?
Might it be related to the swamp adder's neurotoxin? You remember our lessons from Mr. Underwood, don't you? There are several kinds of poisons and such, including ones that can result in paralysis and heart failure.
I wouldn't forget. They're all terrifying.
Indeed. The master originally brought the snake from India, and its skin and fangs are considered exceptionally valuable. It would not be a shock to learn a visitor spread word of an exotic snake being raised here. It's disgraceful to know anyone would harm the animals my master left behind. And what for? Money! Truly disgraceful!
But the stable is always locked, is it not? We're only in here due to the key you possess.
Correct. Only those who work at the mansion should have access to the key to unlock the stable. So how could the thief have gotten hold of it?
Why would someone want to steal a snake's fangs? Money is a possibility, but it's only one. If all one needed is a key to commit the theft, and only those who work at the mansion have one, then our list of suspects has been narrowed. Lot frowned.
I suggested to Madame Janet that we might consult with her son regarding this issue. Yet she did not want to cause him undue worry, and refused to entertain the idea.
He would want to know, I imagine. He's already lost his father.
Watson remained deep in thought. Let's have a look somewhere else.
Right.
We left the stable to continue our work. So now we'll go to the study. Might we see the master's study, then? Ash was the one to oblige and guide us.
It's very tidy in here, isn't it?
The master did all of his work here. Since his passing, the madam has asked to be the sole person to clean this room.
She must miss him sorely.
I agree. They were a truly darling couple. The only issue they never saw eye to eye on was in regards to their son, Ted.
Was this a dispute on if he should inherit the family name, or was it more to do with his education?
I beg that you not breathe a word of this to anyone, as I would be speaking out of turn.
The maid lowered her voice.
Ted was not a man of impeccable conduct, to say the least. The master frequently scolded him for his habitual drinking and gambling, but he never showed any signs of listening. His behavior towards women was appalling, lacking, some might say. We've had maids who resigned because of him.
But Madame Janet is such a lovely woman. Did they spoil him too much as a boy, perhaps?
Holmes, that's not appropriate.
His suspicions are acceptable from my perspective, Miss Watson. The master and mistress couldn't be blessed with a child, so I hear they took to pampering Ted a great deal.
May I ask an unpleasant question? Did you ever fall victim to this womanizing alcoholic brute?
Holmes! That may be a perfectly accurate description, but it's not one you should be using here. Have more tact.
What? Then how shall I describe him?
Well, one might also think of him as an enthusiast.
I've heard of gambling and alcohol enthusiasts, yes. But to call a man an enthusiast of women seems less tactful to me.
Well, I still find you have the least tact between us.
The two of you are quite entertaining, if you don't mind my saying.
Her comment snapped the two of us back to attention. Goodness! We didn't mean to interrupt. Please continue.
Of course. When I first arrived, Ted was... how to put this?
The way in which she cast her eyes downwards, reluctant to finish her sentence, perhaps told me more than if she had spoken the whole truth.
He appeared to be seeing Sophia, so he showed no particular interest in me.
Sophia? They were lovers.
Yes. Their relationship continued right until he left the mansion half a year ago. I can only assume it's ended, since she is here and he is long gone.
It must have been hard on her.
That's simply how love is. No matter how powerful a bond two people share, with enough time and distance, that bond can fade to be as though it were never there at all.
Ash was content to have a cynical view of romance.
Surely it isn't always like that. Wouldn't you prefer to treasure those memories of someone you loved?
You speak like a man when a mystery needs solving, but I see you are still a boy where matters of the heart are concerned.
What do you mean?
We heard of your recent collapse from illness. Are you well now? I couldn't take seeing the conversation take any more strange turns.
Very. I did suffer from headaches, stomach pains, and nausea for a time, but I feel right as rain now.
She sensed unease and smiled kindly to reassure us.
Headaches, stomach pains, and nausea.
Her symptoms match that of Madame Janet's.
The madam once requested I clean the study in her place upon her own illness. It was an honor to have been asked, but then I too grew ill before I could complete my work. What shame as a maid! Do you see those damp patches on the wall? I wish to be rid of them, but there they remain. They looked worse after it rained the day before. It is not uncommon for such patches to appear, for the mansion is older than it looks, but that doesn't make me any more fond of seeing them.
Ah, then the sole cause is rainwater.
I focused on the walls when an apt question came to mind. I wonder, why is the wallpaper in this room different? It's a beautiful emerald and much more pretty than the beige in the other rooms.
You're right.
This was Sophia and Lot's idea. The madam spends many hours here to give her mind peace. They thought it would be a way to help lift her spirits after her loss. Again, a sense of inadequacy burns within. Excuse me.
Let's have a look somewhere else.
Right.
We left the study to continue our work. And now the kitchen. Perhaps we could see the kitchen? Sophia was the one to oblige and guide us. Here we are. Look! There's every piece of cooking equipment under the sun in here. As the head maid, I am charged with preparing the madam's meals. These are simply the tools I need for the job. Have you been working here for long? About 2 years, I suppose. I was appointed as head maid roughly 6 months ago. Appointed by her personally? She must trust you quite a bit. Oh, I wouldn't presume that. Lot is much more dependable than I am. Wherever his grace went, he would take Lot with him. He had so wished to accompany him the day of the heart attack. The atmosphere around the room darkened. From what I've been made aware, it was very sudden, aboard a cab when he was on his way home. It was one of the few times Lot hadn't accompanied him due to illness. He blames himself for not being there.
He couldn't predict a heart attack.
Did the master suffer from a chronic disease? None. He was a heavy smoker who loved his pipe, but he never suffered from a disease of any kind.
And the cause of his heart attack is unknown.
Excuse me, I feel as though I should have said nothing. All I did was dampen your spirits.
Oh, don't be. We appreciate you talking to us. Do you, prepare all the meals in the mansion yourself?
I do. Ash is the one who sets the table and takes the food out, mind. It's impressive how you handle the cooking in addition to your regular cleaning duties. You remind me of my family's butler. Thank you very much. Although... Sophia raised an eyebrow in suspicion. Would it be impolite of me to ask if you live in a mansion of your own if you have a butler? I've been under the impression you were Mr. Holmes's assistant. Well, that's...
I've got a question. You helped the madam when she was pushed down the stairs a fortnight ago, correct?
Watson stepped in to help after he noticed my fumbling and fidgeting. Good show, real Watson.
Did you happen to see the face of the one who pushed her?
Sadly, I did not. I was so focused on assisting her that I never looked her in the face. I only recall her being a slender woman.
Oh, so she was slender. Will you make a note of it, Miss Watson?
Absolutely, Holmes. I'm such a fool. That could have been much worse had Watson not stepped in. I then noticed a single meat pie fully prepared and looking ready for partaking. I wonder what that's doing there.
Did you bake that? It looks just delicious.
Would you care for one?
Can I? When there's only one?
Now let's not get distracted. I insist you have this one, as I've made plenty.
All right, if you insist. God, this tastes absolutely scrummy. Pardon. It's scrumptious.
Watson inhaled the pie in what felt like seconds. See here, Watson. We're here to investigate. You certainly finished that in a hurry. You remind me ever so much of someone else I know. Her lips formed a gentle smile, but there was a touch of loneliness that I could not dismiss. Who do you mean? Oh, pardon me. I was reminded of how the master loved meat pies. Something wasn't right about her reaction. But what? What piece of the puzzle was I missing?
Could I perhaps have another?
Enough, Holmes. We must get back to work. Try as we did, there was nothing out of the ordinary in the kitchen. I think we've seen all we can. Shall we go visit Madame Janet?
Yes, I think so.
If you're done eating pies. Watson and I returned to the room where Madame Janet was waiting.
Were you able to discover any clues?
Well...
Watson took no effort to cloak his discomfort, or it was more accurate to say he was simply not very good at hiding his emotions. When she tried to look him in the eyes, he avoided her. If it's all right, I have a few questions upon our investigation. I was uncertain, but it was prudent to follow through with the many questions swirling about my mind from our investigation. We were told that you spend much of your time in the study. Have you ever felt at all poorly during those times?
Well, yes, I have. Feeling unwell is nothing unusual in there. I did find that all of my symptoms grew worse on rainy days and the day after.
Thank you. I'd also like to ask about the time that you were attacked by the stairs in London. Did you happen to catch a glimpse of the culprit's face? Anything you can remember would be of great help.
If only I did. It all happened suddenly, and I was so frightened that I didn't think to observe my surroundings. The only thing I can tell you is that the arm that pushed me was muscular enough to belong to a man.
Madame Janet hung her head apologetically. It was muscular.
I was able to grasp the nearby handrail and avoid a complete fall, but had Sophia not come to my aid, that may not have ended well for me. I owe more than I can say to the people around me, to Sophia and to Lot and to Ash as well. God has blessed me with the most wonderful servants. I consider them all my family. That's why it pains me so much to know I must leave them in the mansion tomorrow.
I know I've asked plenty at this point, but may I ask one last question?
Certainly.
Did your late husband love meat pies?
Meat pies?
I cannot say he disliked them, but he wasn't a fan of them as such. Our son, on the other hand, could never get enough of them.
Thank you. How queer that Sophia told us differently.
I'd like to ask something also. Is it true Ted's behavior has always been a bit of a problem?
The aura surrounding the madam grew grave in an instant.
I hope I haven't offended by asking something so sensitive. It's just that we've not heard as much as we would have liked during the investigation.
You've done no such thing. It's true. I should have told you as much when we were at your office. Ted was what one might call an extravagant spender. He'd taken our money to fund his evenings on more than one occasion. I turned a blind eye to it initially, but my husband and I could do so no longer upon our discovery that he and Sophia were in a serious relationship.
It was that serious? Were they hoping to marry one day?
They were, but we couldn't allow that to happen. Ted has a duty to inherit the family name first and foremost. The lengths we went to were unfortunate, but Ted leaving the mansion has all but severed their love affair. Yet I cannot sever my feelings of remorse towards Sophia.
She remained ever gloomy.
Heavens! Is that the time? Will you make the last train?
You're right. I had no idea it was this late.
Now it was Watson who appeared most despondent. This wasn't right. So much here was left unsolved, but what to do? What to say? Pardon me. I say this knowing full well this is bold of me, but might we ask you a favor?
Anything at all.
Neither of us wish to give up on this case till the very last second before your departure. Would you permit us then to spend the night here? We've come this far with our investigation. We want to see it to its conclusion.
Miss Watson?
His eyes widened. But I meant my words. I had no inclination to turn my back on this case without seeing it through to completion. Tomorrow the madam departs for the signing. The culprit is sure to want to finish their work before the inheritance process is complete. Tonight is their last chance. And to my great pleasure, she granted our request. I asked Madam Janet for her permission to use the telephone in the mansion's guest room. She granted that as well, and I promptly rung up Pendleton to inform him of my plans for the evening. I expressed the need to stay at the office after work was taking longer than intended. I do hope he believes me. I admit to not paying close attention to what he said near the end of the call, but I suspect a lecture is waiting for me once I step through the front door.
Was it all right to lie to him, Emily?
I should think I had no choice if we want to catch our criminal. It had to be done. Forgive me, Pendleton, but I am just not ready to go home.
Was a daring move on your part to contact the police as well.
It'll be too late to contact them after something's happened. Finding the criminal isn't enough. We need to stop them from hurting anyone.
You sound like Holmes now.
More than you? I sound more like Watson, if you must know.
Of course. I suppose I forgot to keep up the show once we were alone. Is any of this making you feel anxious? You sound chipper, but you don't look it in the slightest.
Are you suggesting you aren't?
Not one bit. I'm very anxious.
I thought so.
Still, you said something that made me realize that I could never turn my back on this case. We won't stop till it's solved, not least for the madam's safety.
Our determination was renewed so wondrously that even with the day having been an eventful one thus far, we had the spirit to furnish our inquiries with answers.
Our mystery truly began when Madam Janet's husband passed away from a heart attack. Shortly thereafter, Lot was attacked by the late Master's swamp adder.
We later learned it wasn't an attack at random, but a result of Lot protecting the madam. She said nothing of the incident to her son to avoid worrying him.
An important detail, another one being the snake was recently robbed of its fangs. We don't know why the thief committed the act. Lot raised a viable possibility with the money one can pocket from a swamp adder's venom, but we lack evidence to support this. One thing we can be certain of is, it is unlikely anyone could steal the snake's fangs without sustaining some manner of injury.
I nodded fervently. I agreed with his assessment on all counts. We also cannot dismiss Ash's illness. Her symptoms included severe headaches, stomach pains, and nausea, and she is one of 2 people who cleaned the late Master's study.
The other being Madam Janet, who shares her exact symptoms. They both claim their symptoms worsen on days after it rains also.
Oh, it's more than claim. We both know there's something suspicious going on in that room.
It does stand out when it's the only room with color. Might the wallpaper be related somehow?
Could it? Wait! I think I've got something. There are indeed emerald green paints which contain a toxin. That may well be our culprit.
I see. Then our suspicions migrate more towards...
We must also account for the affair with the staircase. It was Sophia who assisted her then. And Lot protected her from the swamp adder. If one of her servants were targeting her, would they go out of their way to help her when she was in need?
True enough. The facts as we know it are stranger still. Madam Janet described the culprit's musculature to be that of a man's.
You remember, it is completely at odds with Sophia's testimony in which she recalls a slender woman.
If the difference was slight, I would think nothing of it. Not here. Could one of them have lied?
There's a chance, I suppose. Another thing that strikes me is how there's been no evidence of a break-in over the course of our inspection. Nothing was amiss in the study outside of the wallpaper. And recall, of course, that only those within the mansion have access to the stable.
But who amongst those with access would target her?
Watson hung his head in his hands, thinking, racking his brain over our present conundrum.
Not one of the servants has an obvious motive. None of them relate to the inheritance issue. The one who does is Ted. Wouldn't he have the most to gain? He's next in line to claim the family fortune.
If it's a matter of the inheritance, then he would, yes, but he's been absent for half a year. Or has he? What if the culprit is connected to him? Listen, Watson. Though there was some hesitation lurking, I opened my mouth to speak. I have an idea. Will you hear it?
What do you have in mind?